What do you call a soldier who survived mustard gas and pepper spray? A seasoned veteran. Airman Jones was assigned to the induction center, where he advised new recruits about their government benefits, especially their GI insurance. It wasn't long before Captain Smith noticed that Airman Jones was having a staggeringly high success rate, selling insurance to nearly 100% of the recruits he advised. Rather than ask about this, the captain stood in the back of the room and listened to Jones' sales pitch. Jones explained the basics of the GI insurance to the new recruits, and then said, if you have GI insurance and go into battle and are killed, the government has to pay $200,000 to your beneficiaries. If you don't have GI insurance and you go into battle and get killed, the government only has to pay a maximum of $6,000. Now, he concluded, which group do you think they are going to send into battle first? A drill sergeant grumbles at his fresh young trainee. I didn't see you at camouflage training this morning, Private. Thank you very much, sir, replies the soldier. How do you drown a submarine full of blondes? Knock on the door. An airman, soldier, and marine are sitting around talking about hardships they faced on their last deployment. Airman, the worst was when the air conditioner in our tent broke, and it was 110 outside. Soldier, WTF, you had air conditioners? Marine, wait, stop, you had tents. A soldier ran up to a nun. Out of breath he asked, please, may I hide under your skirt? I'll explain later. The nun agreed. A moment later 2 military police ran up and asked, sister, have you seen a soldier? The nun replied, he went that way. After the MPs ran off, the soldier crawled out from under her skirt and said, I can't thank you enough, sister. You see, I don't want to go to Syria. The nun said, I understand completely. The soldier added, I hope I'm not rude, but you have a great pair of legs. The nun replied, if you had looked a little higher, you would have seen a great pair of balls. I don't want to go to Syria either. A drill sergeant had just chewed out one of his cadets, and as he was walking away, he turned to the cadet and said, I guess when I die you'll come and dance on my grave. The cadet replied, not me, Sargino sir. I promised myself that when I got out of the army I'd never stand in another line. An American soldier, serving in World War II, had just returned from several weeks of intense action on the German front lines. He had finally been granted R&R and was on a train bound for London. The train was very crowded, so the soldier walked the length of the train, looking for an empty seat. The only unoccupied seat was directly adjacent to a well-dressed middle-aged lady and was being used by her little dog. The war-weary soldier asked, please, ma'am, may I sit in that seat? The English woman looked down her nose at the soldier, sniffed and said, you Americans. You are such a rude class of people. Can't you see my little Fifi is using that seat? The soldier walked away, determined to find a place to rest, but after another trip down to the end of the train, found himself again facing the woman with the dog. Again he asked, please, lady, may I sit there? I'm very tired. The English woman wrinkled her nose and snorted, you Americans. Not only are you rude, you are also arrogant. Imagine. The soldier didn't say anything else. He leaned over, picked up the little dog, tossed it out the window of the train, and sat down in the empty seat. The woman shrieked and railed, and demanded that someone defend her, and chastise the soldier. An English gentleman sitting across the aisle spoke up, you know, sir, you Americans do seem to have a penchant for doing the wrong thing. You eat holding the fork in the wrong hand. You drive your cars on the wrong side of the road. And now, sir, you've thrown the wrong bitch out the window. An airman and a marine walk into the restroom at the same time. The airman finishes up and heads out. When the marine is finished, he washes his hands and then catches up to the airman. Hey, buddy, in the Marines, they teach us to wash our hands after we take a leak. The airman responds, in the Air Force, they teach us not to pee on our hands. As a group of soldiers stood in formation at an army base, the drill sergeant said, alright, all you idiots fall out. As the rest of the squad wandered away, one soldier remained at attention. The drill instructor walked over until he was eye to eye with him. The soldier smiled and said, "Sure were a lot of them, huh, sir." How many guns do you need for a firefight? 2. One for us to shoot, and one for the US to sell to the enemy, so he can shoot us back. So, Donald Rumsfeld is briefing George Bush in the Oval Office. "Oh, and finally, sir, 3 Brazilian soldiers were killed in Iraq today." Bush goes pale, his jaw hanging open in stunned disbelief. He buries his face in his hands, muttering, my God, Mr. President," says Cheney, "we lose soldiers all the time, and it's terrible. But I've never seen you so upset. What's the matter?" Bush looks up and says, "How many is a Brazilian?" How different military branches use stars. The Army sleeps under the stars. The Navy navigates by the stars. And the Air Force choose hotels by the stars. A military cargo plane, flying over a populated area, suddenly loses power and starts to nose down. The pilot tries to pull up, but with all their cargo, the plane is too heavy. So he yells to the soldiers in back to throw things out to make the plane lighter. They throw out a pistol. "Throw out more," shouts the pilot. So they throw out a rifle. "More," he cries again. They heave out a missile, and the pilot regains control. He pulls out of the dive and lands safely at an airport. They get into a jeep and drive off. Pretty soon they meet a boy on the side of the road who's crying. They ask him why he's crying, and he says, "A pistol hit me on the head." They drive more, and meet another boy who's crying even harder. Again they ask why, and the boy says, "A rifle hit me on the head." They apologize and keep driving. They meet a boy on the sidewalk who's laughing hysterically. They ask him, "Kid, what's so funny?" The boy replies, "I sneezed and a house blew up." A new soldier was on sentry duty at the main gate. His orders were clear. No car was to enter unless it had a special sticker on the windshield. A big army car came up with a general seated in the back. The sentry said, "Halt, who goes there?" The chauffeur, a corporal, says, "General Wheeler, I'm sorry, I can't let you through. You've got to have a sticker on the windshield." The general said, "Drive on." The sentry said, "Hold it. You really can't come through. I have orders to shoot if you try driving in without a sticker." The general repeated, "I'm telling you, son, drive on." The sentry walked up to the rear window and said, "General, I'm new at this. Do I shoot you or the driver?" At a barrack, the commander calls the captain, "Take as many soldiers you need and start building additional toilets. The number of the people in need has increased. I would suggest, sir, instead of building more toilets, maybe we should hire a new cook." A soldier finds a scorpion in his tent. In the Marines, he kills the scorpion. In the Army, he calls his co and reports the presence of the scorpion. In the Air Force, he calls the front desk and asks why there's a tent in his room. Why was the sergeant mad when his son brought home an A in math? He said he spent more time dividing than conquering. A soldier runs up a hill and around a corner before slamming into an officer. "Where do you think you're going, son?" "Sorry, Captain. It's crazy out there, and the firefight was so heavy. I got scared and tried to go AWOL." "Who you calling Captain?" "I'm a general." "Wow," exclaimed the soldier. "I didn't realize I'd run that far back." Where do generals keep their armies? In their sleeves. The reason the branches all bicker among themselves is because they don't speak the same language. For instance, look at the simple phrase "secure the building." The army will post guards around the place. The navy will turn out the lights and lock the doors. The marines will kill everybody inside and set up a headquarters. The Air Force will take out a 5-year lease with an option to buy. Officer, soldier, do you have change for $1? Soldier, sure, buddy. Officer, that's no way to address an officer. Now, let's try it again. Officer, soldier, do you have change for $1? Soldier, no, sir. What's the purpose of the propeller? To keep the pilot cool. Doubt it? Stop the propeller and watch the pilot sweat. How do you know if there's an Air Force pilot at your party? Oh, don't worry. He'll tell you as soon as he walks in. A British general had sent some of his men off to fight for their country in the Falkland Island crisis. Upon returning to England from the South American island, 3 soldiers that had distinguished themselves in battle were summoned to the general's office. Since we weren't actually at war, the general began, I can't give out any medals. We did, however, want to let each of you know your efforts were appreciated. What we've decided to do is to let each of you choose 2 points on your body. You will be given £2 for each inch of distance between those parts. We'll start on the left, boys, so what'll it be? Soldier 1, the tip of me head to me toes, sir. General, very good son, that's 70 inches which comes to 140 pounds. Soldier 2, the tip of the finger on one outstretched hand to the tip of the other, sir. General, even better son, that's 72 inches which comes to 144 pounds. Soldier 3, the palm of me hand to the tip of me left pinky, sir. General, that's a strange but fair request, son. As the general begins the measurement, what? Son, where is your left pinky? Soldier 3, Falkland Island, sir. A soldier serving overseas far from home was annoyed and upset when his girl wrote to break off their engagement and ask for her photograph back. He went out and collected from his friends all the unwanted photographs of women that he could find, bundled them all together, and sent them back with a note saying, I regret that I cannot remember which one you are. Please keep your photo and return the others. General Baldwin had barely arrived in the forward area when a sniper's bullet removed a button from his shirt. He threw himself to the ground in terror. The men stood around with the greatest unconcern. The general yelled at a passing sergeant, hey, isn't somebody going to kill that damned sniper? The sergeant looked down at the general and replied, I guess not, General. We are scared that if we kill him the enemy will replace him with somebody who really knows how to shoot. A crusty old sergeant major found himself at a gala event hosted by a local liberal arts college. There was no shortage of extremely young idealistic ladies in attendance, one of whom approached the sergeant major for conversation. She said, excuse me, Sergeant Major, but you seem to be a very serious man. Is something bothering you? Negative, ma'am, the sergeant major said, just serious by nature. The young lady looked at his awards and decorations and said, it looks like you have seen a lot of action. The sergeant major's short reply was, yes, ma'am, a lot of action. The young lady, tiring of trying to start up a conversation, said, you know, you should lighten up a little. Relax and enjoy yourself. The sergeant major just stared at her in his serious manner. Finally the young lady said, you know, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but when is the last time you had sex? The sergeant major looked at her and replied, 1955. She said, well, there you are. You really need to chill out and quit taking everything so seriously. I mean, no sex since 1955. Isn't that a little extreme? The sergeant major, glancing at his watch, said in his matter-of-fact voice, you think so? It's only 21:30 now. An Israeli soldier who just enlisted asked the commanding officer for a 3-day pass. The co says, are you crazy? You just joined the Israeli army and you already want a 3-day pass? You must do something spectacular for that recognition. So the soldier comes back a day later in an Arab tank. The co was so impressed, he asked, how did you do it? Well, I jumped in a tank and went toward the border with the Arabs. I approached the border and saw an Arab tank. I put my white flag up. The Arab tank put his white flag up. I said to the Arab soldier, do you want to get a 3-day pass? So we exchanged tanks. During the Cold War days, a Russian pilot is captured by the US Army and locked up for interrogation. US interrogator, tell us about the plans of the MiG-50 fighter. Russian pilot, I don't know, he is beaten up. Then he's interrogated again. US interrogator, tell us about the plans of the MiG-50 fighter. Russian pilot, I have no idea about anything, I swear. He is beaten up again, then again and again, and finally the Americans get tired of interrogating him, so they let him go back to Russia. In Russia, when he first meets his pilot comrades, he tells them, "Comrades, learn the MiG-50 plans well, cause the Americans almost had me killed for not knowing them." Two men were boasting to each other about their old army days. "Why, my outfit was so well drilled," declared one, "that when they presented arms all you could hear was slap, slap, click." "Very good," conceded the other, "but when my company presented arms you'd just hear slap, slap, jingle." "What was the jingle?" asked the first. "Oh," replied the other offhand, "just our medals." Make sure to like this video and subscribe for even more jokes.